The Maelstrom Hunter by Crimson QB Sage, Chapter 13, The Stray. Beacon Academy. Rain poured against the glass window as Professor Ospen stared out at the night sky. Thunder and lightning cracked as the storm reached on. Despite being late at night, Ospen had a cup of steaming coffee in his hand. He stared at his reflection in the window, looking back on the mirrors of his past mistakes. Lightning struck once again as the reflection against the glass revealed Glinda Goodwitch behind Ospen, the woman having just entered the room. A tired sigh escaped Ospen's lips as he saw his former teammate. Still thinking about that day? Glinda asked, putting her hands on Ospen's. If I had been a little stronger that day, then maybe, Ospen said. John, Glinda said, using Ospen's first name. It wasn't your fault. None of us knew what would happen that day. Another tired sigh escaped Ospen's lips as he turned back to stare at the window intently. Retrieve them, Ospen said. It's time for Team Archfiend to come out of hiding. Mount Miyaboku, 3 days later. The sun had just begun to set as Naruto stood before Jiraiya's grave, the deceased Toad Sage having died a week ago at the hands of Pain, leaving a mourning student and teammate, the latter giving Naruto time to mourn while she herself was sent back to Konoha. So as to not raise suspicion, the grave was a simple one made up of a small stone monument surrounded by 3 kunai connected by a ninja wire embedded in the soil around it, making a triangular pattern. Naruto just stood there for days, only momentarily leaving to eat or go to the bathroom. Bags were under his eyes, indicating he hadn't slept much. The sound of footsteps broke Naruto out of his trance as his eyes left the gravestone. Naruto, Tsunade said, it's time for you to come back home, back to Konoha. No, Naruto said, turning to Tsunade, you and I both know that Konoha would never accept me, especially after all the changes I undertook, he said, motioning to his fox ears and tail. I could make laws, I could, Tsunade started, but was cut off by Naruto. No matter how many laws you pass, that wouldn't change their hatred of me, Naruto stated. I just want you back home. I don't want to lose you too, Tsunade said, a tired sigh escaping Naruto's lips. Konoha isn't my home anymore. I was exiled from that place. My true home is Remnant, Naruto said. Remnant? So that's what those lands are called? Tsunade mumbled. Lands? You mean you found out where I was? Naruto asked. Tsunade nodded her head. How did you find out? The weasel is awake to see the red dawn, Tsunade said vaguely. Naruto tilted his head in confusion before it hit him, causing the blonde fox's eyes to widen in shock and surprise. Itachi, Naruto said quietly. Naruto, as a shinobi of Konogakure, I'm going to give you one final mission, Tsunade said in an authoritative tone. The details of the mission will be given to you should you choose to accept. I accept, Naruto said in a serious tone, Tsunade nodding her head. Your final mission is to live a happy life, Tsunade said, her voice softening. You will go and find your own happiness, get a girl, fall in love, have a family. Just live a life you deserve, she spoke. Yes, Bachan, Naruto replied. What are you going to tell the council? A little white lie about how you died out beyond the Okino Okunote, Tsunade said with a grin before handing Naruto a scroll. What's in the scroll? Naruto asked, tilting his head in confusion. 5 years worth of kunai and shuriken and an ambu, some chakra metal, Tsunade stated, and a year's supply of Ichiraku ramen. Before she could even finish the word ramen, Naruto interrupted her. Yes, thank you, Naruto exclaimed before being clobbered over the head by one of Tsunade's fists. Shut up, Gaki, Tsunade comically yelled, a tick mark appearing on her forehead. As I was saying, a year's supply of Ichiraku ramen and a little surprise as well. Thanks again, Bachan, Naruto said before enveloping Tsunade in a hug. Good luck, Gaki, Tsunade said, tears falling down her face. I'm going to miss you. After a minute, Tsunade left back to Konoha, leaving Naruto to stand at Jiraiya's grave. An hour passed before Naruto left the grave. When Naruto left, the blonde fox Faunus walked to the spot he trained with Senjutsu. Deciding to clear his mind, Naruto began to meditate, not to train in Senjutsu, but just to meditate. Hours passed as the setting sun had become night, and the night had become dawn. The sun was just picking around the horizon as the sound of silence permeated the area. As the natives of the area began to wake, Naruto, having cleared his mind, began to feel a strange but familiar energy. Orange pigments appeared around his eyes as he let the energy around him flow into his body as a medium. He had unlocked the ability to use Senjutsu. Veil, Vital, 11 days later. Team Ruby strolled through the streets of Vale and odd Weiss at the front of the group. The city itself was decorated with red, yellow, and green streamers, balloons proudly displayed as the elderly shopkeeper from dusk till dawn store put up a large sign that read "Welcome to Vale" in bright red letters. It had been 2 weeks since Naruto and the rest of Team Archfiend disappeared, and today was the start of the Vital Festival. The Vital Festival? Oh, this is absolutely wonderful, Weiss exclaimed, raising her arms in amazement. I don't think I've ever seen you smile this much, Weiss, Ruby stated as she frowned a little. It's kind of weirding me out. How would you not smile? A festival dedicated to the culture of the world. There will be dances, parties, a tournament. Oh, the amount of planning and organization that goes into this event is simply breathtaking, Weiss said. Lay off of Ruby a bit, will ya? She still misses her blonde fox boyfriend. The Yang teased, the Ruby gaining a large blush on her face. And besides, you really know how to take a good thing and make it sound boring. Quite you, Weiss retorted, the group continuing walking until they ended up near the docks. The sound of foghorns heard every now and then. Remind me again why we're spending our Friday afternoon visiting the stupid docks, Yang asked. They smell like fish, Ruby complained, having gotten her large blush back down to a small, nearly unnoticeable blush. I've heard that students visiting from Vacuo will be arriving by ship today, and as a representative of Beacon, I feel as though it is my solemn duty to welcome them to this fine kingdom, Weiss exclaimed. She wants to spy on them so she'll have the upper hand in the tournament, Blake stated. You can't prove that, Weiss scoffed. Whoa, Ruby said as she turned her head to the right. Down the street was a random dust shop with a shattered window. Scorch marks were present at random areas of the shop, along with the outline of a body in white chalk on the ground. The door fell full of yellow caution tape of the Vale police force. What happened here? She asked, walking over to the detective in front of the shop that was writing on his pad. Robbery, second dust shop to be hit this week. This place is turning into a jungle, the detective said, turning over to his partner. That's terrible, Yang sighed. They left all the money again, the second detective said quietly. Huh? Ruby asked, hearing what the detective said. Yeah, just doesn't make a lick of sense. Who needs that much dust? The first detective questioned. I don't know. An army? The second detective said. You think the White Fang? The first detective asked. No, this is something else. The White Fang isn't known for killing the shopkeepers of the dust, the shops they raid, the second detective stated. Yeah, I'm thinking we don't get paid enough for this, the first detective said. The White Fang, Weiss said in disgust, crossing her arms and pointing her nose in the air with her eyes closed. What an awful bunch of degenerates. What's your problem? Blake asked. My problem. I simply don't care for the criminal insane, Weiss said. The White Fang is hardly a bunch of psychopaths, Blake said, crossing her arms and turning serious. Their collection of misguided faunists. Misguided? They want to wipe humans off the face of the planet, Weiss exclaimed. So then they're very misguided. Either way, it doesn't explain why they would rob a dust shop in the middle of downtown Vale, Blake countered. Blake's got a point. Besides, the police said something about the shopkeeper being killed, and unlike the White Fang, to kill the shopkeepers of the dust shop. Plus, the police never caught that torchwood guy Naruto and I ran into a few months ago. Maybe it was him, Ruby added. That still doesn't change the fact that the White Fang are a bunch of scum, Weiss retorted. Those faunists only know how to lie, cheat, and steal. That's not necessarily true, Yang said. Hey, stop the faunists, a random sailor yelled as a tan-skinned boy with short, spiky, light blonde hair, dark gray eyes, and a monkey tail the same color as his hair, wearing two red wrist bracers, an open, loose-collar white jacket with no shirt underneath, blue cargo pants tied up with a white belt with white bandages on his legs underneath, black and yellow sneakers, and a twisted golden necklace with a round pendant hanging from his neck, running away from the sailors. Thanks for the ride, guys, the monkey faunus exclaimed as he ran from the angry sailors. You no good stowaway, another sailor exclaimed. Hey, a no good stowaway would have been caught. I'm a great stowaway, the monkey faunus retorted, hanging on a lamppost by his tail while peeling a banana and throwing a stone at one of the detectives below to get his attention. Hey, get down from there this instant, the first detective yelled, the monkey faunus dropping the banana peel in his hand on the detective's face. Said detective growling in response. The monkey faunus twirled up to crouch on the lamppost, laughing in amusement, and proceeding to leap off and run away from the detective, winking at an astonished Blake as he passed Team Ruby. Well, Weiss, you wanted to see the competition, and there it goes, Yang said, watching the faunus getting farther and farther away. Quick, we have to observe him, Weiss exclaimed, pointing her finger at the direction the monkey faunus went off to. Unknown location, land of water. Are you sure this is a good idea, Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked. The two members of Team 7 have been snug away from Konoha with the help of Kakashi to find their third teammate. He saved me from the life as one of Orochimaru's guinea pigs, Sakura. Kami knows what I'd be like if he hadn't, Sasuke said. I know, but what will happen when we finally see him after all this time? I don't even think he'll want to see us after what happened between the three of us after he left, Sakura stated, causing Sasuke to sigh. We can only try, Sakura, and if we're unforgiven, then we deserve it, Sasuke said as the duo walked down to the nearby docks. Can I help you, lads? One of the sailors asked, seeing the two shinobi approaching him. We need a fast ship for long-term travels, but Sasuke replied. The fastest ship we have is the SS Great Westerner. She got a speed of 8 and on half knots, the sailor stated, motioning to the large oak-hulled paddle-wheeled steamship behind him. Is she fit for long-distance travels? Sasuke asked. That depends on where you be going, the sailor said, and how much yen you're paying. We intend to sail beyond the Okino-Okunote, Sasuke said, and money is of no concern. Name your price and I'll get you your money when we get back from the trip. The Okino-Okunote, huh? Hey, we can sail out there. You won't find anything, though, the sailor said. We have a deal, then, Sasuke said, extending his hand to the sailor, who in turn shook his hand, sealing the deal. We set sail in 2 hours, the sailor said, before turning to one of the other sailors, the latter laying on his back, as a loud snoring sound escaped his lips. Jacob, wake up, the first sailor yelled, the person named Jacob stumbling awake. What is it, Roy? Jacob asked. Can't you see I was sleeping? We got a job to do, Roy yelled. What kind of job? Jacob yelled back. Escorting these two beyond the Okino-Okunote, Roy exclaimed. Are you crazy? There's nothing out there, Jacob said. Yeah, but they're paying us well to send them all out there, Roy countered. We leave in 2 hours. Let the rest of the crew know. Aye, Captain, Jacob yelled. Vel, vital. No, he got away, Weiss exclaimed in defeat. The 4 huntresses in training gave chase to the monkey faunus only to lose their chance after Weiss crashed into someone when rounding a corner. Weiss? Yang asked, pointing strangely at the girl underneath her teammate. Following the direction of Yang's pointing, Weiss saw that she fell on a smiling girl, which startled the heiress and made her way up quickly. Salutations, the girl said, smiling wildly while still on the ground. Hello, Ruby hesitantly said. Are you okay? Yang asked. I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking, the strange girl replied. Do you want to get up? Yang questioned, the team looking to each other in bewilderment. Yes, the strange girl said after thinking about it for a moment before leaping back on her feet, causing Team Ruby to step back a little. My name is Penny. It's a pleasure to meet you. Hi, Penny. I'm Ruby. Ruby said. I'm Weiss. Weiss said. Blake shortly replied. Are you sure you didn't hit your head? Yang asked, causing Blake to hit her side. Oh, I'm Yang. It's a pleasure to meet you, Penny cheerfully exclaimed. You already said that, Weiss pointed out, causing Penny to pause again. So I did, Penny replied, using the same overly cheerful tone as before. Well, sorry for running into you, Weiss apologized before the team began walking away. Take care, friend, Ruby said, waving her arm. She was weird, Yang said after the group got far away enough from a startled Penny. Now, where did that faunus riffraff run off to? Weiss asked. Suddenly, Penny appeared in front of Weiss, effectively surprising the girl. What did you call me? Penny asked. Oh, I'm really sorry. I definitely didn't think you heard me, Yang exclaimed apologetically. No, not you, Penny said, walking through the group and leaning her head down to Ruby. You, me, I don't know. Ruby said, startled by Penny. You called me friend. Am I really your friend? Penny asked. Ruby stated, looking over Penny's shoulder while her team's motioned to deny her. Yeah, sure, why not? She said, causing Ruby's teammates to face fault and Penny to be overjoyed and laugh. Sensational. We can paint our nails and try on clothes and talk about cute boys, Penny exclaimed. Oh, is this what it was like when you met me? Ruby asked Weiss as she brushed herself off. No, she seems far more coordinated, Weiss said. So, what are you doing in Vale? Yang asked. I'm here to fight in the tournament, Penny replied. Wait, you're fighting in the tournament? Weiss asked. I'm combat ready, Penny said, giving a salute. Forgive me, but you hardly look the part, Weiss stated. Since the girl wearing a dress, Blake commented. It's a combat skirt, Weiss countered, Ruby speeding over to her side. Yeah, Ruby agreed, Weiss holding out her hand, and Ruby low-fives it. Wait a minute, Weiss said in realization. If you're here for the tournament, does that mean you know that monkey-tailed rapscallion? The who? Penny asked. The filthy fawn faunus from the boat, Weiss said, holding up a poorly drawn picture of the monkey faunus. Why do you keep saying that? Blake questioned. Weiss asked, turning her attention from Penny to Blake. Stop calling him a rapscallion. Stop calling him a degenerate. He's a person, Blake angrily said, walking over to Weiss. Oh, I'm sorry, Weiss mocked apologized. Would you like me to stop referring to the trash can as a trash can, or this lamppost as a lamppost? Stop it, Blake exclaimed. Stop what? He's clearly broke the law. Give him time. He'll probably join up with other faunus in the White Fang. Weiss said. You ignorant little brat, Blake growled before walking away. How dare you talk to me like that? I am your teammate, Weiss yelled, having been offended by Blake's comment. You are a judgmental little girl, Blake said. What in the world makes you say that? Weiss asked. The mere fact that you would sort that faunus boy with a terrorist group solely based on his species makes you just as much of a scoundrel as you believe him to be, Blake stated. I think you should probably go, Yang said, sliding up to Ruby, looking uncomfortably. Where are we going? Penny cheerfully asked, popping up behind Ruby with the same smile on her face. So you admit it? The White Fang is just a radical group of terrorists, Weiss countered. That's not what I meant, and you know it, Blake retorted. Safe House Foxtrot, Roshi, Han, and Fu all stared down at their PDAs, each member of Team Archfiend receiving one just like every other student after passing initiation. The messages they received had been kept to a minimum for tracking reasons, but the last messages was one they couldn't ignore. It's time for Team Archfiend to come out of hiding. I expect your team to be present at the Vital Festival. Professor Ospin, what should we do? Fu asked. We have to take precautions to ensure anyone from the Elemental Nations doesn't find us, Han said. But at the same time, we can't ignore Professor Ospin's request, Roshi countered. The decision isn't up to us, guys, Fu stated. Naruto is still team leader, so it's his decision on the matter. Fine then, we'll just have to get in contact with him, Han said, Fu nodding her head in agreement and started typing on her PDA. Mount Miyaboku. Naruto struck another boulder, causing a large rock to break into small pieces. Pa, having found out about Naruto unlocking the secret of Senjutsu, began to train the young blonde fox faunus in the fighting style of the Toad Sage. For Akata, he was somewhere near perfection in the fighting style, but had progressed very far considering the young sage had started training in the Frakata since the dawn. He wasn't in his current clothing, opting to train in some sweatpants instead due to the extreme heat of the area around him. Deciding to take a break from his training, Naruto took refuge under one of the shady areas of the training ground. His resting was broken by the sound of beeping. Looking to his right, Naruto saw a light blue glow being emitted from his bag. He opened his bag and saw that his PDA was going off, which surprised him a bit. Who knew that you could get 3G service in the middle of a summoning dimension? Unlocking his PDA, he saw that someone had sent him a message. Prof. Ospin sent us a message telling us to come back to the Vital Festival. You're team leader, so it's your decision on what we do. Fu, you have one unread message. Clicking on the little icon on the bottom of the screen, Naruto read the message Professor Ospin sent to the rest of Team Archfiend. Hey QB, what should I do? Naruto mentally asked. Why are you asking me, Gaki? It's your decision to make, Kurama said. Naruto contemplated. On one hand, the Akatsuki might find them again. On the other hand, this was a request coming from Professor Ospin. Centering his PDA into his vision, Naruto began typing a reply to Fu's message. We're going back to Vale. If we encounter any Akatsuki or any other shinobi, we'll just deal with them. Let's meet up at the shop from dusk till dawn in Vale. Naruto, hey Pa, how soon can I head back to Vale? Naruto asked after sending his message. You can't be serious, Naruto boy. You still haven't preferred the Frakata? Pa exclaimed. I can just use Kagebunshin, but I just got a message to head back to Vale from Professor Ospin, Naruto said. Alright, fine, but Vale is a long way away, so I'd say an hour or so before we can use the Gyaku Kuchiyoso no Jutsu, unless you have any specific location in that city you want to be at, Pa conceded. As long as I'm in the city, I'll be fine, Naruto said. Gamikichi, Pa yelled, said Toad, appearing in front of Pa. You've been to Vale, right? Actually, Gamikichi started. Good, go into the city and reverse summon Naruto boy when you get there, Pa ordered. But, Gamikichi said, Now go, Kichi boy, Pa exclaimed. Gamikichi hesitantly nodded his head and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Well then, now that that's out of the way, what do you do now, Naruto boy? Pa asked. I might as well continue reading this, Naruto said, pulling out a light brown colored book with faded lettering. How do you get a copy of that one, Naruto boy? Pa questioned. I found it back in one of the bookstores in the Elemental Nations. The store owner gave it to me for free, Naruto said as he sat down and began to read the book from where he last left off. Team Ruby Dormitory. I don't understand why this is causing such a problem, Weiss angrily said, her argument with Blake having lasted this long and still going strong. This is a problem, Blake stated, Weiss getting up from her bed. You realize you are defending an organization that hates humanity, don't you? The faunus of the White Fang are pure evil, Weiss yelled, Blake getting on her feet as well. There's no such thing as pure evil. Why do you think they hate humanity so much? It's because of people like Cardin, people like you, that forced the White Fang to take such drastic measures, Blake countered. People like me, Weiss exclaimed in outrage. You're discriminatory, Blake stated. I'm a victim, Weiss said, the two staring each other down in silence. Weiss leaned in close. You want to know why I despise the White Fang? Why I don't particularly trust the faunus? Weiss rhetorically asked, quietly leering as she spoke. She leaned against the window. Flashback start. Images began to appear, starting with the Schnee Dust Company logo. The logo was lit from the right corner as the image was changed by flames consuming the logo to reveal a dark red sky with black silhouettes of various faunus warriors, each having the symbol of the White Fang on their bodies. It's because they've been in war with my family for years. War as in actual bloodshed, Weiss stated. My grandfather's company has had a target painted across its back as long as I can remember. The image changed once more to show the silhouette of multiple Schnee Dust Company members, and in the center was a younger Weiss, shoulder-length white hair, wearing a white dress with straps, standing at 3'2". Suddenly, a majority of the taller silhouette members began to disappear. And ever since I was a child, I've watched family, friends disappear, board members executed, an entire train car full of dust stolen, Weiss continued. A small, younger Weiss stood behind the shadow of a taller man with white hair much like her own. The man was sitting down in a chair with his head looking down, casting a shadow over his eyes as his hands gripped the desk in front of him, his facial expression compared to that of frustration and anger. And every day, my father would come home furious, and that made it for a very difficult childhood, Weiss finished. Flashback end. Weiss, Ruby said, moving over to confront her teammate. No, Weiss yelled, turning away and walking back over to Blake. You want to know why I despise the White Fang? It's because they're a bunch of liars, thieves, and murderers. Maybe we were just tired of being pushed around, Black yelled, silence dropping down on the roof again. Weiss backed away slowly in surprise as Blake realized her mistake. She said before dashing out the door. Blake, wait, come back, Ruby exclaimed, rushing over to the door and calling to her down the hallway as Yang sat herself down and Weiss looked down. Beacon Academy, courtyard. Blake ran outside, arriving at the statue of an armored man with a sword and a hooded woman wielding an axe on an outcropping, staring at the Beowulf under the stone heroes in particular. Blake closed her eyes as she slowly lifted her arms up to her bow and pulled the string to release the bow from her hair, wiping her tears away as the bow was pulled off her head, revealing her faunus ears. I knew you'd look better without the bow, a familiar voice stated, startling Blake, who was on the verge of crying. From dusk till dawn, Vale vital. Kamakichi arrived outside the Vale city limit after his long, arduous journey. You wouldn't believe how difficult it was for a giant toad to get to Vale. Finally, Kamakichi said before forming hand signs, Gekukuchi Yoso no Jutsu, he exclaimed, summoning the blonde toad sage in a puff of smoke. Blinking, Naruto took in the new surroundings before turning to Kamakichi. Thanks, Kamakichi, Naruto said. No problem. See you next time, Kamakichi said before turning to Mount Miyaboku in a puff of smoke. Now, to wait, Naruto said to himself. Team Ruby dormitory. Morning came around as Ruby woke up from her beauty sleep. Yawning in the process, she looked over to Blake's empty bunk and groaned sadly. From dusk till dawn, Vale vital. Naruto waited around from dusk till dawn for hours after Kamakichi brought him there, eventually entering and browsing the shop once the elderly shopkeeper arrived and opened up the store. After that little incident with Torchwick a few months ago, the dust shop had been doing quite well for itself. Because of Naruto and Ruby defending the shop from Torchwick's lackeys, the criminals were only able to steal 43 of the dust in stock, along with one of the latest editions of the Truth magazine at the time. The elderly shopkeeper, whose name Naruto found out to be Edward Elric, had been able to continue selling dust and restock his lost inventory. Naruto was reading the book he pulled out early on Mount Miyaboku when his musings were broken by the sound of the door opening. Looking up from his book, Naruto saw three familiar faces entering the store. "Naruto!" Roshi exclaimed after seeing their blonde fox team leader. "Yo," Naruto said, his eyes returning to his book as he waved at the three lazily. "What took you so long? We've been waiting outside the shop for an hour," Roshi asked. Naruto was about to reply but paused when an evil idea was convinced in his head. Quickly suppressing his growing grin, Naruto spoke with the most nonchalant face he could. "Well, you see, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long route," Naruto said, not looking up from his book when he spoke, causing his three teammates to face fault. Elsewhere, a certain black-haired cat faunus girl and a lazy one-eyed cyclops of an ex-Ampu sneezed simultaneously, the latter swelling up in pride seconds after. 2 days later, Ruby, Weiss, and Yang walked through the near-empty streets of Vale searching for their fourth teammate. Ever since Weiss and Blake's argument that their faunus teammate had disappeared, Yang and Ruby searching everywhere for Blake while Weiss tagged along. "She's been gone all weekend," Ruby stated. "Blake's a big girl. I'm sure she can handle herself," Weiss said, still angry at Blake. "Weiss, come on, she's one of our teammates," Yang stated. "Is she?" We all heard what she said, Weiss retorted. "Weiss," Ruby said, "maybe she is, maybe she isn't. Either way, she's missing and we need to find her." Weiss said. "A member of the White Fang, right underneath our noses," Weiss exclaimed. "I just hope she's okay," Ruby said. Downtown Vale, Blake took a sip of her tea and sighed, the latest events between her teammates fresh on her mind. Sitting across from her was the monkey faunus she had encountered before, whose name she found out to be Sun Wukong. Sun was currently holding his drink with his tail as his hand popped his head with his tail as his hand popped his head up. He took a sip of his drink when Blake placed her cup down. "So, you want to know more about me?" Blake started. Omake, Gamakichi's journey. Gamakichi appeared in the Beacon Academy courtyard. He tried telling Pa that he has only been to Beacon Academy, not to Vale itself, making him unable to be summoned there without having been there beforehand. A sigh escaped the giant toad's lips as he began to hop towards the nearest directory, which happened to be 4 of the students attending Beacon Academy. In front of him was a teenage girl with fair skin and short dark brown hair with wavy locks on one side of her face, colored from dark brown to red. Her clothes consisted of mocha-colored long short with a gray corset, long dark trousers with ribbons on the left side and a black belt with a golden spike. Above it, she wore another cream-colored belt of bullets with a gold crosshair buckle and what appeared to be a drape of black skirt. And on her right side, she wore a pair of dark brown high-heeled leather boots with buckles. The girl also donned a number of accessories, such as a gray shawl and bracelet with black roses as decorations, black gloves and necklaces. She also wore a beret of a darker brown and a pair of sunglasses. She was also holding a black shoulder bag with golden studs as decorations and bullets as its strap. Next to her was a teenage boy with dark tan skin and messy orange hair that had a long fringe. He wore a brown sleeveless shirt with a high collar, a pair of black jeans, and a pair of brown lace shoes. He also wore a pair of long black gloves and had several pouches attached to his belt. To his left was a small girl with long brown hair and brown eyes. She also had a pair of long brown rabbit ears and wore a black form-fitting top and a dark brown long-sleeve jacket that comes down to her chest. Her leggings consisted of 2 parts, a pair of dark brown shorts and a pair of black form-fitting leggings that came to just below her hips. Her jacket and leggings had small amounts of embellished metal armor attached to them. She wore a large armored belt, and her shoes had embellished metal on the heel and toe. And lastly, to her left was a tall, athletic-looking young man with shaved short black hair and slightly tan skin. He wore a long pale green short-sleeved coat fashioned by a brown cummerbund. He had brown pants, black and green boots, and his left donned a sword which extended up past his shoulder. "Excuse me," Kamakichi said, hopping up to the 4 individuals. Said individuals were currently struck speechless at the sight of a giant orange toad talking to them. Can one of you point me in the direction of Vale? He asked the girl with rabbit ears, so pointing him in an eastward direction hesitantly. Thanks, see ya, Gamakichi said before taking off in the direction he was pointed to. 20 minutes later, Gamakichi was hopping down to the road leading to Vale. If the sign that said 25 miles to Vale was anything to go by, somewhere on the side of the road, Gamakichi stumbled upon a small portable device with strange headphones-like objects attached to a wire connecting to the device. Curiosity got the best of him as he tried on the headphones and pressed the play button. Play Staying Alive by Bee Gees. The sudden jolt of music coming from the device surprised Gamakichi for about 5 seconds. Before long, the giant toad continued his journey to Vale whilst listening to the disco song, somehow pulling off disco moves every now and then along the way. 10 minutes later, if one were to observe the downtown streets of Vale, they would find a giant orange toad walking down the street. A little kid suddenly walked up to Gamakichi and tugged on the toad's clothes to get his attention. Mr. Frog, why are you orange? The little kid asked. First of all, I'm a toad, Gamakichi said, and second, it's because I am. It's not easy being orange, and that is how Gamakichi's day mostly went. After summoning Naruto in front of the shop called From Dusk Till Dawn, Gamakichi went back to Mount Miyaboku, bringing a new genre of music to the elemental nations with him. End of chapter 13.